Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SYARIFAH NURNABILAH binti SHAIKH. My matric number 1212122. Today we will present on the topic of Islamophobia. For the introduction, I will begin by discussing the definition of hate crime. Hate crime is act driven by prejudice, hostility or hatred to race, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity or disability. Islamophobia hate crime is motivated by dislike or fear of Islam or Muslim, highlighting the need for clearer definition and nuanced understanding. The origin of Islamophobia terms is popular in the UK by the Runnymede Trust 1997 report. Definition it as fear and hatred of Islam, leading to hostility toward Muslim, include prejudice and hatred that fuel hostility, discrimination, and harassment, rooted in ideology and institutional bias. Islamophobia is also linked to xenophobia and cultural racism. Framing Islam is incompatible with Western civilization, creating an us versus them narrative. Impact of Muslim is visible mark, like clothing, beards, scarf, make Muslim target for physical abuse, harassment and stereotyping. Stereotype is Muslim men are labeled violent extremists while women are seen as oppressed, fueling exclusion and hostility. Consequences such prejudice harm individual and global unity, require openness, acceptance and understanding to break, divide and combat Islamophobia effectively. Problem statement. Islamophobia is widespread issue with significant consequences for global peace and unity. Fear and prejudice against Muslims lead to discrimination, exclusion and violence, deepening social division. Islamophobia fuels extremist ideology and sustains violence from all sides. Islamophobia worsens global tension, hindering intercultural understanding and dialogue need for peace. Media portrayal, politic rhetoric, and policy often depict Muslim as a security threat based on a minority's action.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ABDULLAH AZZAM bin PAZIL. My matric number is 1213460. We continue with research question. The first research question is, what is the concept of Islamophobia? The second one is, what are the factors contributing to Islamophobia? And the last is, what are the effects of Islamophobia on society? After that, research objective. First, to describe the concept of Islamophobia. Second, to explain the factors of Islamophobia. And the last one is to elaborate on the effect of Islamophobia on society. Continue with research methodology. We use the qualitative research aims to identify meaningful patterns that describe a specific phenomenon by analyzing and interpreting text. Also, observation to complete the study. This study has used the qualitative method by reading books found in library and by reading article and journal available on website. The researchers benefit from having access to the internet to complete the study.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NURNABILAH binti MUDA. My matric number 1212061. Let's talk about the concept of Islamophobia. We divide into two parts. First concept of Islamophobia is definition, and second is the history of Islamophobia. Islamophobia refers to the fear, hatred, and discrimination directed toward individuals who practice Islam or the Islamic faith. Islamophobia, also known as a type of xenophobia, which is defined as the fear of foreigners or unfamiliar elements. Some of scholars, known as KAD2, defines Islamophobia as the presumption that Islam is inherently violent, alien, and inassimilable. But there are also some Muslim scholars define Islamophobia as a fear, prejudice, and hatred of Muslim or non-Muslim individuals that leads to provocation, hostility, and intolerance by the meaning of threatening, harassment, abuse, incitement, and also the intimidations of Muslim and non-Muslim. Let's go to the history of Islamophobia. The end of the Cold War, issue of Islamophobia grows worse because many Muslims do not have the means to shape how Islam is seen in today's Western society. People started to use the word Islamophobia more in the late 1900 year. Tragedy of 11 September 2001 causes an Islamophobia epidemic, which is the term for racism, discrimination, and violence against Muslims and people who look like Muslims. Today, media misrepresentations concerning Islam as terrorism wreaked the havoc on the public thinking and the perceptions. In the past few years, we have seen Islamophobia show up in the political talk, how the media portray Muslims and social policies. Unfortunately, many of people started to hate Muslims and commit crime against them. This was not fair because people thought all the Muslim people were terrorists.
The factor contributing to Islamophobia is media representation. Western media often portrays Islam as violent and connected to extremism and terrorism. Such portrayals create a negative and unfounded image of Muslims as incompatible with civilized society. Events like 11 September and terrorist activity are frequently associated with Muslims, reinforcing stereotypes. Media construct Muslims as security threat, making it difficult for them to be seen as ordinary citizens. This biased representation by the media perpetuate fear and prejudice, deepening social division and mistrust toward Muslims.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SYAQYLLA binti Muhammad ZAKY. My matric number 1212117. Next, the factors of Islamophobia is misunderstanding of Islam. Number 1. Misunderstanding of Islam. Islamophobia stems from a lack of awareness and understanding of Islam's true teachings, which promote compassion, peace, and fraternity. Number 2, role of media. Media often portrays Islam as linked to terrorism, extremism, and bloodshed, overshadowing its authentic principle of justice, mercy, and respect. Number 3, Islam's teachings on violence. Islam condemns unjust violence as reflected in the Quran 5:32. Whoever kills a person unjustly, it is as though he has killed all mankind. Number 4, example of Prophet Muhammad SAW. Prophet Muhammad SAW demonstrated tolerance and forgiveness, such as praying for the guidance of the people of Taif, despite their hostility towards him. Number 5, solutions to address Islamophobia. Education, interfaith discussions, and cultural exchanges can bridge the knowledge gap, dispel misconceptions, and highlight Islam's values of harmony, peace, and mutual respect.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is MAISARAH binti Muhammad HAKIM and number matric 1212104. Next, economic disparities and social inequalities. Economic and social inequalities can significantly fuel Islamophobia. When there are significant economic disparities, such as a large gap between the rich and the poor, there is often limited interaction between different social or ethnic groups. This lack of social cohesion can lead to misunderstanding and foster fears of the others, particularly toward Muslim in non-Muslim communities. impact of limited interaction in communities where different groups do not regularly engage. Stereotypes and misconception can thrive. This fear can be heightened when people perceive Muslim as different due to cultural, religious, or ethnic factors. The lack of direct interaction breeds ignorance, which can be easily exploited to spread Islamophobia sentiments. Psychological vulnerability. Individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds often struggle with low self-esteem, which makes them more susceptible to extremist ideologies. These ideologies often offer simple explanation to complex social issues, blaming specific group, example Muslim, for societal problems. This sense of frustration and insecurity may push individuals toward accepting prejudice view as a way to make sense of their struggle.
Next is cultural differences. When we have a different custom, religious practices, or appearance, it's not familiar to people, and it will create the basis for misunderstanding and fear. Such an example, in Islamic faiths, we have sometimes there are misinterpretation about our Islamic rituals, such as daily prayers, fasting during Ramadan, wearing attire like hijab that might be misconstrued by those unfamiliar to the practices, which is the non-Muslim. In our society nowadays, most people are not Muslim. The unknown aspect of different cultures can sometimes scare people. There are also when there's a trouble in society or in the economy not doing well, in the story of politics, society can make it seem like Muslims are not part of the community, and they might think that Muslim can be a danger to them.
Another factors of Islamophobia is the political rhetoric and policies. They want to mobilize support based on fear-based messaging, appeal to certain voter groups, and after that creates urgency by portraying Muslim as threat or to security or national values, and uh, they also want to divert attention with shift focus from government failures or controversial policies. After that, they scapegoat Muslims for societal problem like unemployment or crime. And the last one is distract from systemic issues such as corruption or economic mismanagement.
Next, we will explore the effect to Islamophobia in society, starting with the impact on mental and emotional health. Many victims of Islamophobia report feeling of anxiety, depression, and fear for their safety. Pressure to hide religious practice like wearing the hijab contribute to emotional distress. Constant exposure to negative media, discrimination, and exclusion cause anxiety, depression, and fear. The stigmatization of Muslim identity undermines their sense of belonging in society. Fear of being targeted in public space, such as airport or workplace, heighten marginalization.
Next, the effect of Islamophobia on society is discrimination in employment and education. Number 1. Employment discrimination. Muslims face workplace discrimination due to their religious identity, such as women in hijabs being denied jobs and men with beards being stereotyped as extremists, violating equality and religious freedom. Number 2. Educational discrimination. Muslim students often experience bullying, unfair treatment, and discrimination in schools, particularly when visible practicing their faith through clothing, fastings, or prayer, which affects their self-esteem and academic performance. Number 3. Institutionalized policies. Policies like banning religious symbols in schools disproportionately target Muslims, restricting their ability to practice their religion freely and reinforcing prejudice. Number 4. Impact on society. Discrimination in employment and education leads to social and economic inequalities, further marginalizing Muslim communities and hindering their social integration and opportunities. Number 5. Solutions to combat discrimination. Anti-discrimination laws, institutional reforms, and awareness campaigns are essential to dispel misconceptions, promote inclusivity, and ensure Muslims have equal access to opportunities in diverse societies.
The impact of Islamophobia on social harmony and well-being. Insecurity in Muslim community, Islamophobia creates a sense of fear and vulnerability, causing Muslims to feel unsafe in their own communities. Collective trauma, violent incidents targeting Muslims lead to widespread trauma, exacerbating feeling of distress, dissatisfaction, and distrust. Negative public perception, Muslims may be unfairly associated with violence or extremism due to action by a small minority, leading to suspicion and prejudice. Identity concealment, stigmatization forces some Muslims to hide their identity, negatively affecting their mental health and sense of belonging. Increased social divides, Islamophobia, fuel tension and conflict between different groups, creating alienation and marginalization of Muslims within society.
Next, undermining democratic value. The fear of Islam deeply affects the political landscape in today, encouraging negative view and unfair treatment to the Muslim people. In the realm of politics, it's not uncommon to see Islamophobic talk used as a tool to win over voter, especially when there's elections. This kind of behavior, language, make bias seem okay and plain it firmly in the conversations that shape our policies now today. For instance, in the United States, the increase in law against Sharia in different states show how these negative feelings become legal action that harm people's rights. From the year 2010, a total of 223 laws against Sharia were proposed across 43 states. Out of these, 20 become official law. This action has made it harder for Muslims to enjoy the legal protection the First Amendment promised them. However, this move in the legislature do more than just push Muslim communities to the fringe. The way the media shows Islam and Muslim as danger to the safety and belief of the West, it will making negative image worse toward the Muslim people.
Hate crimes and violence also included in the effect of Islamophobia on society. Hate crimes, such incidents such as verbal abuse, vandalism of mosque, and physical assault, target Muslim based on their faith or appearance. For example, in Western countries, hate crimes against Muslims have spiked after major terror attack like 11 September or during political campaign with anti-Islamic rhetoric. And the second one is gender violence. Muslim women, especially those wearing hijabs or niqab, unequally targeted in Islamophobic attack. For conclusion, we can conclude that Islamophobia remains a widespread issue with social, psychological, and political consequence. This understanding or disease rooted in fear, misunderstanding, and distorted perceptions of Islam and Muslim. So, the fight against Islamophobia is vital for ensuring a world where individuals are free from discrimination and diversity is seen as a strength, not a threat.